Start with your feet pointed straight ahead, hip distance apart. Bring your hands to your rib cage and take a deep, full breath. And just start to center yourself in your body. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Breathe and feel your feet. And just start to show up for yourself right here, right now. And then we know about being able to play with the forces of your spine. A little bit of lateral flexion, a little bit of flexion, and a little bit of extension. All of those forces are important to keep our spine really healthy. We're going to play with all of those today. So with your feet pointed straight ahead, bring your hands to curl in to touch your palms and bring them to your temples. Elbows all the way together so they touch and all the way back. 20 times. All the way together, all the way back. Slight squeeze at your butt muscles, slight squeeze at your belly. And release. Then bring your elbows right in by your sides. Take your arms straight up over your head, reaching all the way up, and then coming back down. All the way up, all the way down. As you do that, keep your spine relatively still, so not arching the back as you go up, but keeping the rib cage right over your pelvis, slight bend at your knees, feel your feet to stay grounded. And then into arm glides over your head with your arms wide, bringing them out. Soft knees, feel your feet, feel your toes. Bring energy from the ground up your legs and then down. All the way up, all the way down. We do this to let the shoulder girdle change position. Hold on 1 second. As the shoulder gets to glide over the rib cage, we start to separate the shoulder from the ribs. Then go back to here. Take your arms up, separate the arm bone, so letting the shoulder slide all the way up towards your ears, and then drop the elbows before you drop the shoulder. And just get the motor neuron between the arm bone and the shoulder to begin to separate. So all the way up, sliding it up, get as much space in your torso as possible. Big full breath, and then keeping the shoulders lifted, drop the arm bone, and then let the shoulders come down. Do that 2 more times. Soft knees, glutes active, sliding all the way, and then arm bone and shoulders. Last time. And release. Okay, into that lateral flexion, arms out to the side. Squeeze your feet towards each other into your windmill, over to one side and up. Big breath in, over to the other side and up. Feeling the muscles that connect to the arm bone and down the side, like the lat, the muscles that you use to pull a bar down like that, they're getting to open up right now as your ribs press to the ceiling. Inhale, rise to standing. Exhale, over to the other side. Inhale up, exhale over. Now let's turn on our leg muscles a little bit. You're gonna do that same windmill, but take it into a horse stance. So gut wide, feet wide, knees spread over your heels, arms out to the side, same thing, over and up. So lateral flexion, really different base. Squeeze your feet towards each other. Get lower. Can you touch the floor? There's a challenge. And back in. Feet back to right underneath you. Last ones, 5 more. Exhale over. Inhale, rise up. Exhale over. And up. Squeeze the air out completely. Use that to get that oxygen, carbon dioxide exchange. Invite healing breath into your body. Squeeze out that used up air. Excellent. Okay, now go ahead and grab your block, yoga block if you can, if you have a wall that you can get to, or something where you can put your toes up on and come into your wall drop. Feet on the block, heels hanging down. If you can just find some way to do a calf stretch, that will work here or against the wall. This is much more about full body, going all the way up the line, taking out rotation in the lower leg, up into the knee, into the pelvis. My low back just went click, click, little cracks. Okay, if you are at the wall, even if you're just standing at the wall and you don't have a block, rotate your arms out, letting that full external rotation happen at the arm bone. So the muscles on the back side of the arm, pulling that arm around. If you're just standing in space, do this also, all the way out. And release. If you're at the wall, go ahead and press your arms into the wall so that you feel the muscles on the back side of your shoulder light up. Press, hold 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Just give yourself a little bit longer just to hang out on that block. I'm going to do some rotations. Okay, interlace your fingers, flip your hands over, and then go all the way up on the wall. Reach as tall as you can. Overhead extension. Big full breath, deep breath in, wide ribs, east and west. fully out. Once more, fully in, and then fully out. And release your hands, and then have a seat on your chair. You want to do it? You want to be the one to demonstrate? I'll tell you. Have a seat. And then put a block between your knees and put a little bit of an arch into your low back. Sit really tall. And then squeeze and release your block with your knees. Oh, sit tall, sit tall. There you go. Work the muscles in your hips by squeezing that block and releasing it. I'll give you a full minute to do these, about 60 of them, about 2-second squeezes. Squeeze and release. Come on, find these big leg muscles. Keep your feet pointed straight ahead. Everybody check and make sure the foot is straight. Come on, sit tall. You all done? Okay, everybody rock up on your toes, back on your heels. Kathy says hi to you. Up on your toes, back on your heels, rocking chair. Let's see if I can get the camera to come down. With that block, on your toes, back on your heels. Getting the lower leg to come up into the hip. All right, and then play with your feet. You can take that block away. Squinch your toes. Squinch your toes like you're squinching, pulling on a washcloth, like you're trying to get it to come underneath your feet, so you begin to work the deep muscles in your feet. Can you squinch your toes? Squinch. Good. And now try to spread your toes really wide on the floor and then squeeze them together. So like you're squeezing your fingers. Spread your toes wide, squeeze them together. And if you need to put a finger between your toes to actually get them to squeeze, then do that. Out and squeeze, out and squeeze. Good, and then 4 toes down, big toes up. And then own that action. If that's difficult for you and you're new to this, we've been working on this a while and still I have one that does it much better than the other. So have room for yourself to just be new at this. Then own that action by touching the floor and then pulling that big toe back up. Tap the floor and back up 5 times. 4 toes down, big toes lifted. And then the other way, big toes stay down, 4 toes lift. Own the action, touch the floor, pull it back up. Tap and up. When we talk about sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system response, your ability to control how your body's reacting to anything, the toes even have a reaction. So often when you're scared, the toes will go up or the toes will curl. Either of those reactions are there. So being able to just manipulate your toes can actually be, just like the breath, one of the things that can change your reaction or shift you out of fight or flight back into rest and digest. Okay. Cross your right ankle over your left knee. Sitting up really tall. Open your hip. Get really tall and long through your spine, and then just lean your body forward a little bit. Open that hip and take some deep breaths there. And then switch. Notice the difference between the two sides. How well does your leg bone externally rotate in the socket? How open are your hips? The sciatic nerve runs from the low back down the leg, and often it can have pinch somewhere along the back or in the butt muscles. And just keeping this mobility open and the function of this, you can open up that space so there's less potential for pinches along that nerve. Go ahead and come back to standing. Move your chair out of the way. And come down onto your hands and knees. Come into cats and dogs. Let's do that one vertebrae at a time so that you're really focusing on how each of those are moving. So starting at the base of your tailbone, find your low belly, begin to curl, and then push each vertebrae up through your whole back, wider. Coming all the way to rounding, and then start at your head. Begin to lift your head, keeping the rest of it stable, and then slowly move down through your neck, your upper back, your middle back, until you finally, your tailbone lifts. And then keep your tailbone lifted, go to your head, curl. One vertebra at a time at the neck, lifting and making space between the shoulders. All the way down, feeling until your abdominals start to turn on, tucking your tailbone. Coming down. And now let's go from the base of your tailbone, keeping your head down. Lift the tailbone through the low back. Each vertebrae through the middle back, between the shoulder blades, and finally the head and neck. Keeping your head up, tuck your tailbone, low back, middle back, and finally your head. And then just move. Add all kinds of movement. Maybe take your pelvis in a circle, rib cage around the side. And then take your feet together, knees wide, and just press back towards the child's pose. And breathe. Notice if you have tight quads, the muscles in the front of your legs that keep you from going all the way down. Coming up. And then take it into V knees, and we'll start to open up space in your spine, lifting the right leg up, moving the right hand as far away from you as you can. Move your hips back and your ribs and heart forward. Take a breath, fully in, fully out. Switching sides. Fully in, fully out. Switch. Hips back, ribs forward, fully in, fully out. Second side again. Fully in, fully out. One more this time, make that crescent shape. So as your hips come up, let the ribs begin to turn, open to the sky, pressing up toward the ceiling. Hips go back, reaching forward. See if you can still get your hand to reach down toward your mat. Ribs up. Big breath. Switch. And then come back to neutral. Really go from your fingertips down to your palms. Make that suction at your hands. Squeeze the thumb and the pinky pad towards each other so your wrist is safe. And then come into a hand-leg opposite lift. Hold it out there. Keep everything still in your body. Turn your low belly on. Turn your shoulders on. Bring the knee and elbow down. And then take it right back up. No movement in the spine right now. So I want you to separate the hip and shoulder from the movement of the spine. 10 of these. You can lift that leg a little higher than neutral if you want a little more butt and hamstring action. And switch. Down and lift. And come down onto your belly. Into a hand-leg opposite lift. So first, stabilize your spine by pressing your pelvis down into the floor, tucking your front ribs into the floor, and then lift the opposite arm and opposite leg. Notice if the tendency is to have your tight hip, just pull your low back into an arch. Keep your pubic bone kind of pressing down into the floor so that as you lift the leg, the butt and the hamstring pull the leg up into extension without just arching your back a lot. Then switch sides. Lift. We always want to work the body as a unit, but we want to be aware when there's parts that move when we're not asking them to move. Those compensations are part of what lead to dysfunction in our body over time. Lift, release, lift, release. Lift, release, lift, release, lift, release, lift, release. Good, hands by your, let's go elbows, down. Hands can go flat to the floor. Press up through each vertebra in your back. So the muscles on the side, the serratus and the lat, they're gonna help us here. We're gonna work our belly, so go ahead and bend your knee. Tuck your tailbone down into that space. And then from the upper neck, press wide so that you start to lift your upper body off the mat. And then tuck your tailbone more. Try to lift all the way up until your hips hover over the floor. You're in a kneeling plank. Hold it. Feel all the belly muscles. See if you can get both sides to turn on. Or notice if one is turning on more than the other. Release it down. Take a breather. Getting stronger every day. Okay, from here again, start all the way at the neck. Push wider through the shoulder blades. Push them apart, pull the shoulder blades down toward the floor. Get more round. Go ahead and tuck. Front ribs stay under. Tailbone starts to tuck. And then begin to lift. Hover over the floor. If you want to take this all the way up into your full plank, tuck your toes under. Press it all the way up. That's fine too. Coming down, release. One more. Elbows on the floor. From the neck coming up, wide through the shoulder blades, peeling each spot off the floor, either to knees or to feet. Hovering there, feeling the belly work. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release it down. Nice work. Roll onto your side. Feet pointed down, knees at about a 45-degree angle. You have two options here. So externally rotating the leg bone in a clamshell helps to turn your butt muscles on and pull your leg out. If you want a challenge today to have a lot more work, you can press off the floor as you do that, and that's going to give you all this core stability and the butt muscle on the bottom side as well. So you choose. You could be down here and just, if you're just working on keeping your body still while your leg moves, then do 30 of these clamshells, feet together, knee lifting, pelvis stable. If you are challenging yourself a little bit today, come up onto your elbow, make sure your chest is open, collarbones wide, and you're pressing your collarbones apart from each other. And then lift your hips while you lift that knee and come back down. And if you're doing this one, maybe 20 is enough. And switch. Set your body up for whatever you want, down on the floor or up on your elbow. You're up on your elbow. That shoulder is a load joint now. So make sure that your collarbones are wide, the shoulder blades on your back. Your underside is working to help stabilize in that shoulder. And then again, you choose the leg, lifting the leg just on its own or adding that hip lift. And release. Have a seat. To get into our first twist in a sitting floor twist, crossing the right leg over the left, sitting tall, taking the right hand behind you. If you want to move that bottom leg under and get seated evenly on your seat, go for it. If you want to leave it out straight and just work on increasing the arch in your back, do that too. Move into your twist. You have a full minute here. Big breath in and exhale. With each breath, root down into your seat. Feel your seat. Rise up and pay attention to your exhale. Untwist. Switch sides. Left hand behind you. Sit tall. Open it up. Really fully exhale. Fully in, fully out. And then on the inhale, come back to neutral and extend both legs out straight on the floor. Into your femur rotation. So finding the arch in your back, even though it's challenging, open your shoulders, open your collarbones, tighten your thigh muscles. Actually, let's do the first ones with your knees bent. So just find the rotators in your hip. Knees soft, we'll take the hamstrings out of it for a moment. And just let the leg drop out to the side and back in. Notice if there's a difference between the two sides, how easily that happens. How the femur bone rotates in the hip socket underneath you, and how the muscles that are on the back side of your hip pull that around. Now straighten your legs and connect into your quad muscles on the front of your leg. Pull your toes back, rotate out, and rotate in. Thighs stay tight, especially this inside thigh muscle. It's called your vastus medialis. And it is important for controlling how your patella is in line with the rest of the tracking of that leg. And when that muscle gets weak, if you have a knee that's swollen or doesn't straighten all the way, then it changes how the leg works and how that patella tracks. So we want to keep all of the quad muscles, but especially this inside one, active right now. Out and in, rotating the leg. And then take it wider. Same thing, out and in. Feel into the front of your hips. Are the muscles on each front the same, or does one grip before the other? Does one feel like it could have a little cramp? Take it all the way wide. Last one, 10 more. And then try to sit up into your body so that your hips are taking all of the weight, arms out to the side. Then tuck one arm under, reach toward your toe, full flexion of the spine, over, inhale, come up, then underneath, other side, reach, breathe, open that space, inhale up. This is a full body opening. From your hamstrings all the way, the connection to the base of your foot, all the way up through the muscles that connect on this side into your arm. All of that has to lengthen and then be able to control it as you lift and over, breathe. And up. If you have a little bit of a leg length discrepancy or a little bit of scoliosis in your back, this is a great one for just resetting some of the curvatures of your spine or how your back and pelvis are responding to each other, or even the compensation that might happen all the way up into your shoulders. One more. Excellent. Back to your cats and dogs. After that rotation, we'll go back into that flexion and extension. This time, just move however you like, bringing the shoulder blades into retraction and protraction, sliding apart from each other and hugging in. We've done a little hamstring lengthening. We're going to stick with that today. So bring one foot forward. If you need to double pad your back knee, please do so. And then just go into letting that front leg go straight. Pressing the heel down into the floor. You can bring your hands on either side of your leg. If you need a block to have a little more height, you could use that. Square your hips by pulling your right hip or whatever leg is forward for you back and your left hip forward. Take a deep breath. And then bend into that front knee, opening up the back hip. Hip flexor opening, and then again, hamstring. Maybe you can slide a little more into that. And back again. Hip flexor, hamstring. Just alternating between those two. And then see if you have some version of a split for yourself today, whatever that looks like. and release. Switching sides. Finding your front hamstring. Just breathing into that front heel, again, squaring your hips, noticing any differences. And then as you feel able, start to move back and forth between them. Bending that front knee, straightening the back leg, going into that hip flexor a bit. And then straightening the front leg, pulling the toes up, rooting the heel, going into that front hamstring. And then if it feels okay to you, moving into some version of a split today, and just holding and breathing. It is super common for us to have differences between the two sides. That's something to notice because it's something to work on. How do we have more balance between the two sides? Is there a hip flexor that doesn't let that back leg go as far back? Or does the hamstring restrict the front leg from going forward? And begin to pull it back in. Once more, Katzenbach. Moving your pelvis, connecting back to your shoulders. And then have a seat once again. We're gonna work this back side of our body one more time. So, one hand on the ground, feet hip width apart. You're going to really squeeze the back shoulder onto your back. Feel the support of the shoulder blade muscles like the rhomboids between your spine and your shoulder blade so that you can put weight on that arm and lift your hips off the floor and then set them back down. Switch arms and then lift. Breathe, coming down. Switch hands. Lift. Down. Switch. Lift. If it feels better for you to go slower here, hang out here for a while and just breathe. Work all of the stabilizers. Coming down, switch, and lift. Release. And come all the way down onto your back. Make sure you have your block and strap close, and we'll do a little bit of hip stabilization here with just full support of the floor. So, all the way lying down, feet on the floor, knees bent. Do a little bit of a crunch and walk your whole rib cage up a couple of inches so that your spine gets long on the floor, and then tuck each shoulder blade underneath you. And then from there, pull both legs up into a table position. Hold them up there and then just point and flex your feet. So we're tying the ankles back into the knees. And the lower leg, the tibia, aligning with the knee. And then keep the left leg in, drop the right leg almost to the floor. Pull it up, feel your core tighten, but don't let anything else move besides the legs. And then release your feet. Reach your arms to the ceiling. Pull your arms over your head toward the floor. Let your entire shoulder girdle slide up, get even longer on the floor. And then back up. And over about 10 of these. And up. And then set yourself up for a double-double. So you need your strap going around your legs. And if you just have one or the other of these props, just use one. If you have both, strap at your knees about fist width apart with the block at your ankles. We're just going to do a little more hip stabilization to find those deep muscles. Pulling out with your knees, squeezing in with your feet, and letting the leg bone come around and align. Keeping a slight space between your low back and the floor. Squeeze and press, and then release. Let's do 20 of these. Squeeze and press. Just in case the pelvis needed a little bit more of an adjustment, we use these a lot in the clinic. If people are not being able to round their back, then this unlocks the pelvis a little bit so that rounding can happen in the spine. That means people with a little bit of arthritis or a little bit of stenosis in their low back, generally this feels really good to them. This can also be used for people who have a discrepancy in the leg bone, some kind of twist where maybe the foot is straight or the foot is out but the knee goes in. This can tie the whole leg together into the pelvis. I would also say I use this for some people that have SI destabilization, the sacroiliac joint, the joint that is not supposed to move very much, that's surrounded by ligaments, that's where your pelvis and low back come together. And sometimes people can have a loosening of that and it can move more than it should. And that can often cause pain. It can get stuck in a place that isn't optimal, and these can free that up a little bit as well. Go ahead and switch. So bringing the strap to your ankles and the block to your knees, and go the opposite way, pulling out at the ankles, squeezing in at the knees. Press, release. If you feel some wobbles, that's totally okay. Double check your shoulders and notice if they just got uneven on the floor. Now that you have the floor as your feedback, open your collarbones, get your shoulder blades to lie on the back of your rib cage. And release. Release your legs. You can pull yourself into your static back or let your legs go out straight into Shavasana. Do a little bit of work on your wrists before we just let the arms go. So bringing your hands into like a downward opposite prayer position and pull up, and then prayer position and pull down, and just let that move a little bit through the wrists, letting the pressure have a little bit of a stretch. You can even press into your fingers a little bit more. Being gentle where the metacarpals and phalanges come together. And then just do some wrist circles. And then do a little bit of neck movement before we settle in, just letting your head twist from one side to the other. And let the head and neck go into that big rotation. It might even feel really good to take your hands behind your head and just give your neck a little bit of traction. Going into the curve of your neck and just squeezing and pulling up, opening up that space a little bit. You can even give yourself a little neck rub as you settle in. And come back to the place of just feeling your feet, feeling your breathing. Letting any of the parts of your body or your mind that can be a little bit unsettled, let those parts settle so that you can just connect into your highest self. Be the witness of your thoughts, the witness of those parts, and allow them to fade into the background a bit. We show up for this practice in our body to support the vital health that always exists, especially when it's cultivated. From the atoms in your body, all the way the DNA and the RNA that is in the cell that's giving your body information of what to do, the things that act on that DNA and RNA to know how to take care of your being. Your immune system is thousands and thousands of years old, and it has been subject to coming into contact with things that might be foreign for a really long time. And when the body is in its optimal health, it knows exactly what to do. Take a few deep breaths. And just rest in the safety of this community. that gets together to support each other's vital health. May we all feel safe and connected and healthy and joyful and both supported and supportive of each other. May we extend that beyond this group so that all the beings feel safe and connected and supported and supportive. Namaste.